Welcome to Grey Primer, a weekly show that's mostly about miniatures. My name is Nick, I'm your host, and this is Super Bowl Sunday. And to celebrate, I'm unboxing the latest edition of my favorite game of all time, and it's Blood Bowl. For this being my favorite game of all time, this is only the third edition of it that I've purchased. I skipped the first edition, which had cardboard little standees, pretty much because I didn't know Blood Bowl existed whenever that was released. What was that, 86 or something? And then they brought out the second edition with the incredible Astrogranite pitch in polystyrene. That was in late 88. I got mine in 89. And then I bought a lot of teams and everything back then, but there was a big gap until I bought my next copy, which was in 2016, which probably didn't have my favorite rule set of all time. I still prefer the old second edition rules in many ways, but the miniatures that came with it were far superior. So now we're up to the 2020 release, and they've called this one Second Season, and I am just so thrilled that they're still producing core sets for Blood Bowl. They're still iterating on it. They're still releasing new teams all the time. But how cool is that what you would think would be a relatively niche concept, like American football being played by, fantasy creatures, that it would be so enduring, and that even while there was a gap in Games Workshop's release schedule, the huge fan base kept it going. And now it is stronger than it's ever been. There are more teams than there have ever been. And we just keep getting new releases after new releases. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I am just going to stop talking and actually get stuck into this. Back in a moment. Okay, sports fans, well, here it is. It's Blood Bowl Second Season Edition. It's the 2020 release of, my favorite game. It's the game of fantasy football. And here it is. Well, this isn't it. This is Second Edition you're looking at. This is the good old Astrogranite pitch, but let's just bring us right up to date. It is a super shiny front cover. It's catching all of my lights in all the wrong way. It's kind of a weird logo, actually. It's a lot of silver. And we can see the homage to the Astrogranite pitch there, which you can see below the real one. And all of the included bits and pieces to getting your games up and running. Love the referees. Can't wait to get those built. Got the Black Orcs, the Goblin Bruiser lineman, the Imperial Nobility bodyguard and retainer lineman, Vara Ghoul Chewer, Griff Oberwald, a troll and an ogre. What do they call the ogre? The Imperial Nobility ogre. And a trained troll, as opposed to an untrained troll. And just quickly down the bottom here, showing that it's for 2 players. Playtime is approximately 1 to 3 hours per game, and it's for ages 12 plus. For 2 players, I remember doubling up on this to make a Mega Bowl or Mega Blood Bowl, and getting 4 players in on that action. Okay. Oh, wow. The smell of this box. That is an incredible smell. That takes me right back. Definitely takes me back to the second season, the second edition, Blood Bowl. And there's such a huge amount of stuff in here. Oh, I don't even know where to start. Let's start with blue, because I'm guessing blue are the referees. The elf is mostly built already by the looks of things. I can't imagine these are going to be difficult to put together. And then into... could be Varag, or could be the Troll. Actually, I think this is the Troll. Interestingly, from the 2016 edition to this one, they've gone from easy to build, sort of push-fit miniatures, into ones which actually do require cement. There's the sprue with all of the markers on it, the range marker for throwing. You've got the sideline throw-in marker, and then the scatter marker there as well for use with the D8. Pretty sure this is the same sprue that came in the 2016 edition. Yeah, you can see it here. Copyright 2016. That's fine. And then I'm guessing this is going to be Griff across these 2 smaller sprues. Or maybe the Ogre plus Griff. Yeah, looks like the Ogre plus Griff. That's great. And while they're not easy to build and you will need to sort of clip them and glue them properly, you don't necessarily have to paint them, because you can clearly see that the nobility plus their allies are red and the orcs plus their allies are green, with the referees being blue. So let's check this out. Is this a duplicate sprue? I imagine it is. Yep. Turn marker's pretty neat there. Looks like a griffin or something. And look how flamboyant these headpieces are with the feathers. That is spectacular looking. Great detail on the armor and everything. The boots, the stitching, I like that they've left space as well on the armor, so you can do your own sort of logos and things, or fit on some decals there. And then the duplicated Black Orc sprue, which will have some goblins on it too. And these are pretty chunky fellas. The Black Orcs, not the goblins. That is a new design there for the orc coin. Different from the original one from 2016. And lots of muscle. Angry, toothy faces. Can't wait to get all that stuff built. And we have this great divider protecting the books and game components from the spiky sprues. And sometimes these take a bit of damage. You can see a bit of damage just above the eyebrow there, and where it took a bit of a ding there. But much better that those pieces of damage end up in this than in the actual rulebook and stuff. And one of the coolest things ever on the back of this protector, I hope they release this as a poster. I think I've got all of these now. I don't think there's any I've missed. There's a lot of teams out there now for them. It is great to see anyway how much support there is here from Games Workshop, and long may it continue. Maybe I'll do a top 10 of my favorite teams of those ones in a video in the future. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. Got a bunch of 32mm bases here. Got the green dice. I don't think they're branded for orcs especially. No, they're just branded for Blood Bowl. So maybe they'll bring out like Black Orc dice in the future. It's the same for the red dice. Maybe they'll bring out nobility themed ones at some point in the future. Got the instruction manual here. What else do we have in here? The transfer sheet. So it looks like this is for both the nobility and for the Black Orcs. Not a huge amount of variety on that. A light version of the transfer sheets. Be interesting to see if they release the Black Orc team or the nobility team in the future as a standalone, whether that will come with a proper size decal sheet. But anyway, all the instructions for putting together your Blood Bowl players, referees and the like. Looks pretty straightforward to me. And then we're into game mats. Okay, we've got two-sided dugouts. These are quite small, I gotta say. They feel more scaled towards this Blood Bowl edition, the second edition, than it does to the second season. With 32mm bases, it could be quite a tight fit getting players into these dugout boxes. There could be quite a lot of overlap there. Wow, you can see the difference in scale there. Goodness me. These are with the much larger spaces for the 32mm bases, because of course the Blood Bowl second edition would have been for 25mm bases, or large monsters would have been on 40mm square bases, taking up 4 spaces on the pitch. Lots of nice detail on here, is like bottles and bits of armor and rocks, and looks like a trapdoor, a couple of trapdoors there. That could be quite interesting. And then on the flip side, sense of the scale of the two of them there. You can see these much larger 32mm sort of sized spaces, and the 25mm ones on the old edition. But I think they've done a pretty good job of replicating what the old Astro Granite pitch from like 88, 89 looked like. Yeah, pretty good. It's nice to see them paying homage to it anyway. And let's just have a look at the hardback rulebook here too. Here it is at the back. A couple of nice little cheat sheets. I like that very much. And then the book itself is matte finish. Oh yeah, there's sort of a, hopefully you can see the glossed up Blood Bowl branding there. And the badge down in the corner. It's got that gloss finish to it. I love that. I love when they sort of mix the finishes, the textures. Even these stars here, you can actually feel as you sort of run your finger over them. They're glossy as well. It's just nice. It's a cool finish. Oh, I'm so happy to see this. This is just great. And now we're into the first pages. I'm not going to go through everything here, but just give a very quick rundown on the layout, the contents, get a feel for the aesthetic of it. And so far, it's really nice. It feels like a copy of like Spike magazine. You know, images, starting with the images of players, you know, beautifully painted, and then into the greetings, sports fans. Gives a breakdown of the contents of the box here again. And main contents in the index are kind of split between a bit of lore to get things started, the rules of the game, and then back out to lore again with talking about individual teams. But a really nice finish to this. It is lovely. I'm very much looking forward to reading up on the lore, seeing if there's anything new they're talking about there. Some great artwork here already. Very different style in here to previous versions of Blood Bowl. Fallout and collapse here of the NAF. You can see, you know, will play for food. Is this per what's that, Elfheim Eagles player? Different stadiums, and then it very smoothly goes into the rules and everything there. Oh, look at this artwork. I just love this. So yeah, very consistent with the type of art we see in Spike magazine. But it really is not a bad thing. Yay! Box of popcorn there. Oh wow, check out that image. That's magic looking. There always seems to be a goblin stealing the ball somewhere. I love this stuff, the different talk about the different Blood Bowl teams. That's always some of my favorite bits and pieces of the lore. And it is good to see it broken down like this again with some nice images from different teams and the cool sort of looks of some of these paint jobs. Touching on some star players here as well, which is good to see. A few pages of those, hopefully. Yeah, great. A whole bunch of them, including a few Forge World ones there as well, I think. Yeah. And then into the index. So, and ends with the Thunder Valley greenskins there too. So it's kind of cool to see it starting with this image and ending with this image. You got the Nobility versus the Black Orcs. Love it. Okay, let's get the miniatures built and I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm back here with these 30 fully built miniatures, and I've got to say the quality is incredibly high. The value for money as well seems to be really good. The Troll player here is like €22 on its own. The Ogre here, €20 on its own. The book, the Rulebook, is €40. And you're already past the €80 mark on 2 of the miniatures plus 1 of the books. Never mind this high quality 2-sided game mat, the 2 full teams, the 2 referees, the 2 star players, and everything else, all the other game components. So straight out of the box, it represents great value for money. But let's have a look at the actual quality of the miniatures themselves. I'll start with the Ogre. I have got one of these already. I think I actually have 2 of these already. But it's a great miniature. It's the first time I've seen it in this red plastic. But he's got a great expression on his face. Love the armor all over this one. And the pose as well is fantastic. He's in complete mid-sprint there. He's about to punch something in the face. And he has got a mean old expression on his face as well. So we're off to a good, albeit familiar, start. The first of the nobility ones, the Imperial Nobility figures, and I just dig this so much. Normally I don't care to see like a football included as part of the sculpt, but this one really makes it. I think there's an elf one as well that has got a similar kind of pose and arrogance, but it just works. And this one isn't so flamboyant that it would get in the way of him being able to play the game. Like, he doesn't have huge feathers flapping around his face. Okay, so this one's probably going to obscure his vision the odd time. He's striking a nice balance between functionality and flair. And then the next one goes a little bit more towards that flare end of things. But a fantastic set of mutton chops there. Great facial hair. A little bit more rotund player, but doesn't get in the way of him looking super cool. Actually, a very similar pose to the ogre, if you think about it. Yeah, these two I think are cut from the same cloth, but a really nice looking miniature. And then we have the first of our female players here. And this is another really great pose. Some lovely details in it too. I like the braided hair and this tankard as well. It's swinging by the side. I meant to actually drill that through like a gun barrel because I think that'd be really cool, having that represented as a proper sort of empty beer tankard. Next up is a classic lineman pose from Blood Bowl, and some interesting sort of flamboyant details. These bows that are on either leg there, and I think at the back of the arms as well. It's kind of an unusual detail. I haven't really seen anything like that before. But also some really cool details, like that chest armor with the skull and the feathers coming out of it. I think this is a really nice one too. But just the bows are an unusual design choice. But now that I've mentioned it, I'm going to see it everywhere. I can see it on the legs here of this character too. This is one of the ones with these brilliant pipes and beard combos. Just great little embellishments and details here. And because this side are all repeated sculpts, I'm only going to be looking at this half for this catch up in the video. So that means that this is the final nobility player. So you get two of everything. I do like the lean on this. It gives it that sense of dynamism and action. And I mean, the feathers are flamboyant and way over the top. But then I suppose everything about these is way over the top. The full-on eagle across the chest here. These little bows and ribbons. The fantastic facial hair. Yeah, there's so much money in this team that they're just going all out. I mean, just imagine how new all of this armor is every time they go out onto the field. They're just super fancy. But let's now look at a team that are a lot less fancy. Let's have a look at these Black Orcs and Goblins. I gotta tell you, they're a lot more controlled on their bases than the Orcs were from the 2016 release of Blood Bowl. Those Orcs really stretched out over their bases, and there was always a chance that if you had another figure standing beside it, they were going to snag it, and there was a chance they would tip over or get tangled up. These, while they are, I think, a lot bulkier, they manage to retain the boundaries of the base a lot better. There's very little overspill there across the 32mm base, and I really appreciate that. They are no less aggressive, no less angry and dangerous looking, and brutal and ferocious, and all those fantastic orc traits. And the detail across this is sensational as well. I love these armor constructions around their faces with oversized teeth and horns, and some really brutal looking weapons on their arms too. I am a big fan of this orc team. And even the goblins, which can sometimes dip too far into comedic, they manage to retain that balance. They're still a bit funny looking, but there's also a seriousness to them. And these are a world away from the likes of the sort of snotlings you would get in the ogre kit or in the snotlings team themselves. These are a little bit more serious looking. As far as the sculpting goes, there's very little embellishment, especially compared to the Imperial Nobility team. This is just straightforward armor, straightforward stitched together clothing, and they look really, really ready to take the fight to anyone on the Blood Bowl pitch. They still manage to retain that animalistic rage in their face designs, and that's enhanced further by these incredible constructions around them with, like I say, the teeth and the horns, but really, really cool. I do like this little goblin. This one features in the front cover as well, with this mouth enhancement strapped on to make him look ever more ferocious. This one has been hanging around orcs for way too long. I do like that he's supported on the base just by his hand. That's a cool touch. And he does seem to be firmly enough on there There's no issue at all with that, and it was easy enough to build. And then this is the third of the sculpts for the Black Orcs. Don't forget you get 2 of each. But I'm loving this face mask. I love that there's a tiny little padlock keeping the cage in place. I guess when he wants to eat, he gets that unlocked for him, and some brave person steers food towards his face. What I do like about these orcs is that they have a lot of space on their pauldrons here and on their back armor plates for putting the likes of numbers, for putting team logos and things like that on there. Lots of space and lots of access around here too, which I appreciate for getting the paintbrush up in there. But very, very cool. And then the final goblin sculpt, and this one's another serious one, another ready to fight. It doesn't have a huge amount of armor, unfortunately, just this one knee pad with the spike on it. But I don't think he cares all that much. He's making up for it with just pure confidence and aggression. So just before we get into the 4 central figures here, just have a quick look at this troll. I have never been a fan of this sculpt, I will tell you that. I do like the foot up in the air. I like the cobbled together sandal that looks like it's made from a bear trap. The bits and pieces of maybe a fence that have been strapped together to turn into a bit of chest armor. And there's certainly a ton of detail and embellishment the whole way around this thing. The actual skin of the troll is very cool. The pauldron here with a bit of mail hanging down the back of it. The belly as well looks great. It looks like it'd be a lot of fun to paint. And the face is very cool too. What more could you want but a face like that in a troll? My problem is with this pose. I have never liked it. I always think that it hides too much of the troll. I'd much rather see this guy with his... It looks almost like his face is covered from most angles. Like you can barely see his face, barely see it, and then just here. It's the only time on this model you can see any part of his face. The rest of it is just covered by body or arms or whatever. And I don't like the sculpt of the goblin who looks like C-3PO in Chewbacca's backpack. Just, yeah, something about it. And what if there were no goblins in this team? What if it was just a troll and a bunch of orcs? Where'd the goblin come from? Did he get him from the crowd? I don't know. It's just always been weird. Because I think it should have come with alternate arms. Certainly one without a squished up goblin in it. But anyway, I'm getting hung up on it. So let's have a quick look at the 2 referees, because they're pretty cool. As you saw in the unboxing, this was pretty much built on the sprue already. It's beautifully made. The facial expression is absolutely fantastic. I love that he's holding up a red card or a yellow card there as well. He's got his quill to write up whatever player that is who's caused the infraction. Very neat. And on the goblin's back, it looks like he's carrying around the entire Blood Bowl Rulebook. It looks like this one is sized for like orcs or ogres, but still, he's managing to do it. I'm a huge fan of dwarf sculpts in Blood Bowl. I think they've done a great job up to now. And let's just have a look at Varag. Yeah, we'll have a look at Varag Gowlchewer. I can never pronounce that. And this has ended up being a really cracking looking mini. There's so much happening with it, but at the same time, it never feels too much. There's still space to get numbers on there and logos on there. But you definitely know this is the boss orc. You know that this one is the biggest and the oldest and the toughest. He just looks amazing. Is he massive compared to the other ones? Yeah, he's chunky enough. I mean, the creature on his shoulder here and the huge tusks and everything, they definitely add to his size, but he's big anyway. Construction on Varag was not the most fun. The actual construction booklet here, you can see that it starts straightforward enough. It's like this huge piece to this huge piece, then onto this one, and then it goes into, oh, we're bored. Here's just the exploded diagram of everything else you have to put on. I don't get that at all. Like, why take such time here to be like, these really simple steps that you absolutely know how to do instinctively when you take this off the sprue. We're going to put those into diagrams, but the rest of it, nah. You work it out from this. So yeah, that was less than fun. But we got there in the end. Griff is actually quite similar. Like attaching the bird and stuff to Griff, that was not the easiest thing to do. I thought it would just instinctively be sitting on the finger, but I had to check a couple of reference images because the construction booklet wasn't the clearest. But you end up with a really cool looking mini. Again, I don't really mind the ball being included in the sculpt because it just kind of works. But lots of embellishment on this, a huge amount of over-the-top detail and showing off. I think that's all this is. This entire miniature is just Griff Oberwald at the end of a very, very long and illustrious career and multiple Blood Bowl championships is now just showing off. And he's showing off so much that he's brought his falcon or his eagle to the game. And that's the mall. And I'm kind of sad, to be honest, because a Blood Bowl weekend doesn't come along very often. We don't get a new edition very often. I mean, this has come out only 4 years after the last one, but that feels like a long 4 years when you're a Blood Bowl fan. I'm such a massive fan of this game. I just think it's so much fun. And they really seem to have retained the sense of humor throughout. The quality of the miniatures is phenomenal. The quality of the book is actually the best I've ever seen. And I think that it's just going from strength to strength. I really hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Please comment below if there's anything you particularly enjoyed or if you have any questions. And also if you have any suggestions for other stuff you'd like me to unbox and build on the channel. On the next episode, I'm looking at a kit from a different miniatures manufacturer from the UK. This one from Mantic Games. It's the Plague Reserve Force from Warpath. There's a dropship, a cool little buggy. There's a couple of mechs in there as well with a whole bunch of different weapons choices. And that's coming up in the next episode. Until then, take care and bye-bye.